Here's a weird thought. Nothing is real to you. Nothing is real. Sure, there may be something that is objectively out there, a reality. But what you see is more of a cardboard cutout. I see things that I can utilize, that I have learned structures to, to enable the utilization of objects that I visually recognize. Without actually knowing anything about the structure of the object or how it manages to do anything that it's capable of doing. All you need to know is a name and some sentences. And then you can do like whatever you want. As long as those sentences have some meaning to you. Which is probably something that's quite non-trivial actually to say, but if I tell you that this is an eraser and you can use it to remove pencil marks, then you can probably have a good idea of what to do with this thing, without actually knowing why someone made it, or how it was made, or how any of this came together. Don't even know you don't even need to know what it's made of. It's a prop. It's a prop in the play that your mind is playing. Everything's just a facade. You can't see fully behind anything. Not even yourself. Like, you couldn't construct a consistent self. No matter how hard you tried. Like, you can't have enough knowledge to assemble anything. And also, there is no such thing as a consistent self. You're built from everything around you. You're constantly interacting with things. You need sensory stimulation in order to learn, to think, to stay sane. So there is no disengaging from reality. How you may interpret it may not correspond to any sort of reality except the one that you experience. But you can't disconnect from reality. There is no disconnect. There is no self. There is no mind. Your mind is everything. Even if it's completely intangible as to how that is the case. Everything around you changes how you think. Every new thing changes how you think. I have no idea why I live in the social structures that I do live in, but I do. I can't help that. I have no idea why these things called pencils exist. They just do. And I can't really look behind that. I just have to accept it. And accepting things is so difficult when they seem so arbitrary. But then again, everything we think about is arbitrary. Everything we think is arbitrary. The way our brains think is arbitrary, Evolution doesn't select for perfection. Anything that works is fine. Anything that's not a hindrance is fine, As long as it doesn't kill you, then you can have somewhat erroneous trains of thought. You can perceive reality in an extremely eccentric and unrealistic way, if it doesn't affect your chances of reproducing, if you somehow still manage to. So basically, not a lot makes sense, and I can't make anything logically consistent out of this, because then I have to somehow refute skepticism and solipsism, which is very difficult on purely rationalistic grounds. Basically, in order to break out of solipsism, then you have to stop being entirely rationalistic, and there's no rational reason to do that, and that's the point. Like, you have to adopt perspectives that you don't have access to yet, in order to like have a more realistic view of things. So there's something weirdly illogical and non-computational going on there. I'm slightly alluding to Roger Penrose's theory of the mind, which I don't have full knowledge of, but it's something I think about, whether you can say that the human brain is computational, which in a way it is, because we can kind of compute the laws of physics, in a manner of speaking. A lot of it's approximation. But on the scale of a brain, does that matter? I don't know. But it's kind of irrelevant. So basically his argument comes from Gödel's incompleteness theorems, which basically state that the fact that there will always be, consistent structures of thought, that if your axioms don't that you can't deduce from your axioms, basically. So, I mean, more accurately, it says that you can't prove that your axioms and system of deduction itself is the correct one. So there's an element of faith in everything we think about. There is kind of no rationality in people whatsoever. Even if you value rationality highly, you do so irrationally. So I think that's enough of the confusing mess to be getting on with. Sorry for the shitty quality of video. But yeah.